3, 2, 1,
Jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun.
yeah. I told you I was going to play the rockin' music today.
Jenny, this shreds.
Shreds. I know.
I feel like
It's
I
so
should
cool.
take my shirt off and flash the bases.
You could. That's a
I
choice.
Mhm.
So those of you that are just hello, we are the Brothers Sisters. I am Janice Brothers.
I'm Ann Brothers.
And we use a platform called StreamYard to do our streams. And they have 8 music choices. And this is their rock music choice.
And it rocks, don't you agree?
It totally rocks. It's like you said, Ann Brothers, it shreds. Okay, we're gonna get rid of that 'cause that's really not great. It was not awesome.
No. I was like, okay. I can see why it's free.
Totally. These are the free songs that you can use when you're using StreamYard as your streaming platform. So here we are, Ann Brothers, on the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Dun dun dun.
And how are you feeling about that?
I feel fine because I'm not going to be in the United States, and so where we're going, it's just Thursday.
That's true. Ann is going to Canada with Duncan for Thanksgiving, or as they say in Canada, Thursday.
Yeah,
Which
so
is
all the restaurants and museums will be open, so it should be
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
That's great. Yes, I am. I'm hosting the family for Thanksgiving. In fact, next week's show is going to be about Ann going to Toronto rather than me having Thanksgiving, which is probably a good choice. So there's that.
Probably.
All right. So this week we are. I got to take my brand off there. I got to take our little background off. There it is. So this week we are talking about. We went and saw, well, separately yet together. We went and saw the movie Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So we wanted to talk about that today because, what are you going to do the weekend before Thanksgiving? I thought it was an interesting choice that they released this movie the weekend before Thanksgiving instead of Thanksgiving weekend. I guess they're just assuming that nobody's going to see movies next weekend because everybody's going to be eating and shopping.
Oh, my ideal Thanksgiving is to bake a chicken and then go to see 2 movies. So
Okay. Yeah, that sounds nice.
Doesn't it? I'm like, yeah, that's my preferred thing to do is go see movies on Thanksgiving. So, but yeah, I mean, I haven't been in a movie theater in a while, so that's what we did.
We were going to go to the Crossroads one in Portage because it's got the comfy seats, but everything was basically sold out. So then we thought, hey, we'll go to the IMAX because they have an IMAX there and that has comfy seats too. But then it was going to be $40 to go see a movie. So we didn't. We just went to the crappy little Kalamazoo 10 over next to the Target. And honestly, it was nice. The seats were pretty comfy. They weren't like recliner comfy, but they were still very comfortable. And, we only ended up spending $20 on a popcorn and 2 pops. So that's not bad, right?
Oh, the markup. I went to the Imagine in Saline because they have the comfy chairs, and I pull into the parking lot and I park and I realize that everybody is carrying their blankie and I don't have a blankie. Yeah, everybody has a blankie. They were walking in with their blankies.
You didn't have a blankie? Were they selling blankies at the door?
They weren't. And I was like, and then I saw a young lady because Jenny pointed out to me the other day because she's teaching in a middle school that the cool thing for hip girls to do is to have their zip up hoodies with one shoulder exposed. And I'm like, oh, there's a girl with her shoulder. I was like, she's the cool girl with her blankie. I was like,
yeah, because she's freezing to death because she won't pull her sweatshirt up over her shoulder.
That's right. She needs a blanket. And then I had taken my notebook in with me, and it's got a map on it of Michigan. And the young lady that rang up my soda and popcorn was like, oh, what is that a map of? And it was like the other side, which was Ypsilanti. And she's like, I've only lived in Michigan for 10 years, and I want to learn a lot more about the geography. And I was like, well, when you hit a lake, turn around. And she's like, oh, yeah.
You just blew her mind. Just dynamited that kid's mind.
Exactly. She was probably like 16. So I was like,
hey, peninsula. What?
So it was fun. So that was fun.
That's super fantastic. Well, as what we like to do, I'm going to go ahead and put the screen on there. We are doing our review and stuff of the Ballads and Songbirds and Snakes. But before we do that, we like to take just a minute to welcome anybody that happens to be a new listener with the Brothers Sisters. And if you don't know who we are or what we're up to, I've made you a list that number one, we're Ann and Denise brothers. Therefore, the Brothers Sisters. See what we did there?
Mhm.
We are in our 50s. And so we're Gen X all the way. Not that it matters because no one cares anyway. So that we like to talk about smart stuff or dumb stuff or fun stuff or any combination of the three. Or, and honestly, maybe it's not stuff that you think is smart, dumb, or fun, but it's the stuff that we think is smart, dumb, and fun. And since this is our show, we get to pick that. We have been told that we are good to listen to at the gym. Get swole, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
or give up. Just give up. Stop counting your steps. What are you, an optimist?
wow. That's Ann Brothers, ladies and gentlemen. Ann Brothers, who loves the gym, who went to the gym for a number of years, but would simply call the gym the suck. We're going to the suck.
I'm going to the suck. It's pizza day at the suck.
Yeah, we were talking about that with our friend Jeannie the other day. The fact that when you go to Planet Fitness, the first Monday of the month is Pizza Monday. So you can work out when there's pizza all around you. You're surrounded by pizza.
Literally, it is genius.
Let's see what else. Okay, we are not a true crime or murder podcast. Jeannie Caselli's going to change that for us. We want to be your comfort podcast. In other words, if you had a stressful day, listen to our podcast. It's just easy listening podcast. So it's, just about whatever. You can find us on our brand spanking new website. That's why we have a website. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And be careful because we swear a lot and we can be otherwise offensive. And if you have small children that you don't want to hear things like fuck or bitch or vagina, penis, then this is not the podcast for you. Or you can just put the kids to bed and, give them some Disney movies to watch and tune in. So you could do that too. Anyway, there you go. Brief synopsis. That's who we are. That's what we're up to. And we also like to talk about stuff that is smart, dumb, or fun. We like to talk a little bit about that in the first 10 minutes or so of the show. So, Ann, what is your smart, dumb, or fun thing this week?
Well, I did something that was both smart and fun and maybe a little dumb because we were doing it. And sometimes we can, we're like, we bring a little dumb to things. So, and that was Jenny and I went to the Houdini Ball that was hosted by the Detroit History Club. And the Detroit History Club is a members only club, but it's only costs $5. And they have once a month, they usually host some sort of event. And this was at the Jam Handy, which was an old movie studio, I believe. And they had their Houdini Ball. So they had a 1920s band, and then they had magicians and fire people and acrobats and lots of good food. And most people dressed up. There's the flapper was well represented. Jenny and I decided to go in a slightly different direction. Jenny went with the old lady run rummer theme, and I went with the magic theme. So I had an old top hat that I glued a rabbit on.
And let's be honest, you stole the show. Everybody was walking around. 90% of the people in there, the women were walking around in their flapper dresses. But then there was Ann, who was in a beautiful unicorn dress with a jacket, a top hat, like a magician would have, and a rabbit glued to it, and everybody couldn't stop touching Ann's hat. So
yeah, so it was great. And then our friend Jeannie Caselli came with us, and then we met my friend Amy there, and with her friend Mary. So we had a wonderful time, and it was, they do a lot of. There was a scavenger hunt, so there was some reading involved. We had, in fact, there's a picture here if you are watching us on video with Jenny and I eating our coney dogs, which is a Detroit staple. So it was just fun. We had a great time. We laughed a lot. We got to dress up. We stayed up past our bedtime.
I know, we were up till like 11 o'clock at night.
Exactly. We spent the night at the Mint Hotel in Detroit, which is actually more like a condominium that rents out some rooms to people. So it was fun. We had a really good time.
It was really excellent. And the Detroit, if you're not familiar with the Detroit History Club and you want something exotic to do when you go to Detroit, not that it's really exotic, but it's a great way to learn Detroit. And I would say if you've never been to Detroit or you're not super comfortable with the idea of just hanging out in Detroit, then this is a great way to do it because they offer you tours, many different types of tours where you're on a bus. They take you to the places. They take good care of you. They give you snacks. They give you water. You learn just oodles of stuff. Can't recommend the Detroit History Club enough. They are outstanding. And this was a really fantastic event. They had a horse racing thing outside. They had s'more making. They had acrobats. They had fire spinners, and it was fun. It was fun. It was unusual, and it's a great way. It was a great way to see a place like the Jam Handy, which this classic building in Detroit that maybe you would necessarily get to see. It was super cool. Okay, so for me, I picked something dumb. And it's just been bugging me for a while, and I just have to talk about it for a second. And that's dumbass fragrance commercials. I'm so tired. I was watching football the other day, and there was like a Natalie Portman fragrance commercial. And then, of course, there's the terrible Johnny Depp fragrance commercial. And then the newest edition is the Timothy Chalamet fragrance commercial. And I don't know what they're peddling. It's just like, I don't get it. And these fragrance commercials have all been the same for years. They're these black and white things where everybody looks pained and angsty and beautiful. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? What does this have to do with you wanting to smell nice? I'm going to put in some perfume or whatever. I don't get it. It just makes me crazy. And they're so dumb. And why? Who's buying this shit? What does this tell me about how it smells?
And then Timothy Chalamet, he was like, he's adorbs, I just want to bite his little toes. I don't want to buy perfume from him.
I don't either. I'm like, what is this? Are these commercials so like 10-year-old girls will buy perfume for their 10-year-old boyfriends? I don't understand.
It's for women that want to buy perfume for their men, and the men are like, oh, I'd never that commercial's terrible, but their ladies are like, oh, maybe he'll smell like Timothy Chalamet.
But what is Timothy Chalamet even going to smell like? I mean,
I don't know. Newborn baby. I don't know.
He is like this cute little young thing.
He is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Chocolate milk.
Duncan says chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk and Desitin. Perfect.
Or Play-Doh.
Oh God! Speaking of Play-Doh,
did you see the ice cream thing?
Yes, I was looking at it's like the Play-Doh ice cream parlor, and it's like where like they're making little like soft serve ice cream things with their Play-Doh. I'm like, that is a trip to the emergency room waiting to happen.
I was like, I wanted to eat it, and I knew I wasn't supposed to, and it was just a commercial.
And I'm an adult. I'm a 53-year-old woman. Like, oh, that looks so good. I want to eat that. Yeah, Play-Doh's got some explaining to do because somebody's going to die. Okay.
Exactly. It's like, I have a Play-Doh tummy ache.
Wait for your kid to shit out that Play-Doh, Sorry. Anyway, I got off track. Anyway, I'm sick of fragrance commercials. Just one time I'd like a fragrance commercial to tell me what it actually smells like. And just be like, hey, man, this is better than stinking or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, let's get to our review, shall we?
Okay,
We've
let's
fooled
do that.
around long enough. And here we are. Let's talk the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. We're going to talk about both the book and the movie because the book was amazing, and the movie, we'll get to that. And would you like to talk a little bit about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the book?
Yes, it was written by Suzanne Collins, and it was published in 2020. So it's a fairly recent book. And this is a prequel to the Hunger Games series. So if you were, following Katniss and her adventures, then you are familiar with the character of President Snow. So this takes place 64 years before Katniss Everdeen's sister Primrose is chosen to participate in the Hunger Games. And we meet Corleone. I can never say this. I'm just going to call him by his nickname. Corio.
Well done.
Corio Snow, not yet the president of Pan Am, but an 18-year-old boy. And it is 10 years after the Capitals won the war with the districts. The Capitals had a very slow recovery, but it is finally making some headway at the expense of the districts. But the Snow family is not. There is nothing left of their family's great fortune other than Corio's intelligence and charm and ambition, his cousin Tigress's fashion skills, and his grandmam's pride and patriotism, and a crumbling home in the wealthiest part of the capital. With these few assets, Corio is struggling to be awarded a college scholarship so he can get a well-paying job, save the family home, maintain the family legacy, and never be hungry again. So no pressure. So this Corio Snow is very different from the President Snow that we get to know in the Hunger Games trilogy.
Yeah, in Hunger Games trilogy, he is very much the villain and Katniss's nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of go into this book thinking he's that he's risen to power in this way, being rich and powerful already, and he's really not, and that's super surprising. That's for sure. Now, as far as the movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that is directed by Francis Lawrence, and he directed all but the first movie in the original series. So he directed Catching Fire, and then he directed parts 1 and 2 of The Mockingjay that they split into 2 movies. The screenplay was by Michael Arndt and Michael Leslie. This one starred Tom Blythe. He plays Coriolanus Snow. Rachel Zegler as Lucy Gray Baird. Viola Davis as Dr. Volumina Gall. Peter Dinklage as Dean Casca Highbottom. And Hunter Schafer, who played Tiger Snow, which is Coriolanus's cousin. And there's some more people in it, but, anyway. So that movie was just released on Friday. So this is a brand new release. Been waiting, excitedly waiting for this movie to come out. Anne, would you like to talk about why we love the book? Would you like me to do that?
We'll split it in half.
Okay.
Okay. I loved this book because the story of how a villain is created is always has the potential to be an excellent story, and Susan Collins does an excellent job with it. It's who doesn't want to know how a villain is made?
Walter White, anyone?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, what we really learn is and we need to be reminded of this, is that a villain is never born. They are created. They don't come out of a box like that. We learn how the boy, Coriolanus Snow, did I say it right?
You did. You nailed it.
Became President Snow, how he's shaped by war, the death of his parents, severe deprivation, prejudice, love, and ambition. Not just his ambition, but that of his family and his nation. And he learns that it's better to control than to be controlled. And this lesson costs many lives and almost his own.
Yeah, the book is excellent. It's well crafted. It's detailed. And what I love about it is that, it's a 550-page book. So it really takes its time in developing not just Coriolanus' story, but the stories of the world around him in the capital, and eventually his world in District 12. Spoiler alert, because he gets sent to District 12 as punishment later in the story. It's cool to compare. When we look at the the capital in the Hunger Games series, the capital is extravagant. It's outrageous. It's debauchery. It's all these terrible things. But it's a really different capital that we learn about in Songbirds and Snakes in the 64 years in the past. It's very different. It's a capital that is recovering from war. There are still people starving. There are still people that don't have enough food. It's not this extravagant place. It's just a city that's trying to find its way back after a terrible war. It reminds us, you can look at the capital, and you can look at the story of the capital and it's very American. It rings very much, both the capital and just the story itself rings very much the way things are in America. And I don't know, if we look at what goes on in the capital, especially during the Hunger Games, it feels a lot like the bread and circuses that we live in right now. I don't know. That's what I think. Anyway,
I agree. Yeah, and that's it's she paints a really different picture than in the first, or than in the next 3 books.
Agreed. All right. Why we thought the movie was just okay.
Mm-hmm. I thought, this should have been 2 movies. Part 1 should have been his life in Pan Am, and part 2 should have been his life in District 12. So, you have this.
I could not agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, they have this really involved book, and then they can't, it was still a 2-hour and 30-minute movie, but it's still not enough time to really help you understand this creation of the villain. There should have been more singing. It's called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Should have been more singing. In the book, music is literally the 3rd main character. Not just when he meets Lucy Gray, but there's singing within like the first 3 pages of the book when his grandma is singing the national anthem.
And that becomes a big deal. The fact that that she sings the anthem every morning, and that he's chosen at one of the funerals of his classmates to sing the anthem, that becomes this thing that they have.
Mm-hmm. And it helps him stand out, which is very important to him. And it seems as though in the movie, the music was an afterthought. Whenever the Rachel Zegler, who played Lucy Gray Bard, sang, her voice is amazing, and she did a beautiful job with that. But it just seemed like, oh yeah, we better have the songbird sing. So I thought that was a real waste of opportunity.
Well, in the book, she sings several songs in the books. She
Mhm.
basically uses every opportunity to do that. And really, they only have her sing like 2 or 3 times, twice, before and during twice before the games. And then I think once or twice. And it's just
Mhm.
a shame because it's that. And the thing that we learn is that Snow doesn't really like music. That's
Mhm.
the thing that is interesting. And that's part of that story that we don't get. But
Yeah.
anyway, keep going. Sorry, I
Okay.
interrupted
No,
you.
anyway, and I want to go back to what I said previously about the book, why it was such a good book, in that war, the death of his parents, severe deprivation, prejudice, love, ambition are all woven into an intricate tale that gives us a deep understanding of how he became President Snow. And in the film, they hardly focus on any of that. What they focus is on the hate and the brutality. But that has a difficult time of showing us how it creates a monster. And because there isn't time to give us that nuance that's required of this, we don't have that time. So we don't understand how he became this way. And if they had done 2 movies, they would have had more time to develop that, how each individual thing over time. It's like pressure or in a crucible. He was forged, I guess is the best way to put it. And if you don't show all of these things that helped forge him, we really can't understand how that happened. And so in the movie, you never truly understand how he develops.
Well, you never capture his desperation. You never capture his
Never.
desperation. Just in that opening scene when he's waiting for Tigers to come with a shirt. I mean, that's the first 10 minutes of the book is him, desperately, you know, he doesn't have anything to wear to this very important day for him, and he's counting on his cousin to come up, take his father's old shirt and make it look nice so that he can present well when he really has nothing. And what we learn in that book is his desperation, that he doesn't really eat when he's at home because there's nothing to eat. How he doesn't have to worry about clothing himself every day because he just gets to wear a uniform and that's good enough. How desperately he wants to gorge himself with the food that he gets at school, but he talks about in the book how important it is for him to control himself. That's this constant battle to control himself and teach himself discipline when it comes to the food that he wants to eat. And it's you never, like I said, you said he's forged, and he is forged by the desperation of his circumstances, and you never get that at any point
Mm-mm.
in this movie, which is the heart of who he becomes,
Mhm.
what he becomes. And especially at the end when he's in District 12 and he's realizing that everything he wants is at his fingertips, in that moment when he finds the guns and he's like, I can have it all, and him having to choose at that point. And again, he's so desperate in that moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, just never they never quite get it. Sorry.
They never quite get it. They never do. I also thought that Lucy Gray Baird of the movie is a pale imitation of the Lucy Gray Baird of the novel. In the book, it isn't just her talent that makes her special. It's the fact that she knows how to own it in every way, and that's she keep that even Corio learns that lesson from her, to own it. If you're going to make a decision and it starts to look like it's turning bad, own it, and then you can turn it to your advantage. So that's another thing his desperation teaches him, is how to take advantage of every situation.
Agreed.
And they never, that again, that is really never expressed in the movie.
No, and I'm going to jump down to my last point because again, you know, Lucy Gray Barrett's character is a pale imitation. Sejanus's character is a pale imitation. And I'm going to jump to my very last point on here. And it just said that none of the performances were as good as I wanted them to be. And that includes everybody. That includes Peter
Right.
Dinklage. That includes Viola Davis. And it's because story matters. And this movie can't give us, it does not have the time or a path to giving us the story we need in order to believe what we're seeing on screen.
Mhm.
Instead, it's just, we think High Bottom is pathetic, and we think that Dr. Gall, Viola Davis's character is just crazy. She's none of those things. And we never see that because again, story matters.
Mhm.
It's everything in like this. And that's the danger in taking a story like Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and making it into a movie. And it was interesting because they interviewed Francis Lawrence, the director, and he felt he made a mistake by making Mockingjay two movies. And he did. That should have been a single movie. And then so I think Gunshy, because of that experience, he went ahead and decided to make this a single movie. And I just think I think it's just not very good. And I don't know, Joe said he thought the story was good. My husband Joe went with me, and he said he thought it was a good story. But again, I don't know if I would have thought this was a good movie if I hadn't read the book. Maybe I would have thought this was a better movie. And I was trying to remind myself that the whole time, but
Mhm.
I don't have any perspective on it.
Yeah, I kept trying to remind myself that as well, is that would I be enjoying this if I hadn't read the book? And
I don't know. It's not a very exciting movie. It's a slow burn.
yes, the book is a slow burn as well, but there's so much to learn. I just felt that this movie focused so much on the brutality in the arena in a way that wasn't even in the book.
Mm-mm.
There was a brutality, and there was much brutality in the book, but the motivation of it was so very different
Agreed.
than they expressed it in the movie. So I just, yeah, it just wasn't long. They had a lot of fine actors. The cinematography is beautiful, as you said. Like the Capitol is striking in its Stalinist qualities.
Yeah,
But,
it reminds me of like post World War II Russia.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
the colors, the statues,
Mhm.
everything just sort of reminded me of that
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
This would have been a better series than a movie, I think.
Oh yeah, good
Mhm.
idea.
Mhm.
Yes. So here we are, you guys. So what we're gonna do is where on the sister scale does this movie land? And okay, so first off, you guys, and this was my husband's idea. He's like, you guys have to have something for your movie reviews. Like, back in the old days, they had the thumbs up or thumbs down, or you know, whatever. So we've come up with the sister scale. Where does this movie land on the sister scale? So before we give it's explain our ratings. The sister scale is a finely tuned scale, and we're going to use it to rate whatever we want. And the sister scale, it's a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being if we've rated you as a 1, it means this shit is as bad as the movie Geostorm, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Now here's a question: was Geostorm worse than Moonfall?
Oh, I thought Moonfall was worse because it was longer.
Okay, so then we're gonna have to change that. With 1 being this shit is as bad as the movie Moonfall, I can change that. And 10 being this shit is as awesome as a fat unicorn riding a dinosaur, like you see in this picture. Because I have a T-shirt with that on it, and it is the greatest T-shirt in the history of T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I know it is.
Yeah. And
we have commentary. Let's go see what the comments have to say. Tammy Peener says Moonfall was way worse. Yeah, Tammy, and you're the one that told me that I had to watch Moonfall, and then I did.
And I'm never going to get that time back.
I have not gotten over that.
No,
God, that movie sucked. Sorry.
And I love terrible movies like that, but that was even more terrible than I could possibly have. I'm like, did everybody have to get slightly inebriated to do this? Because I think I think I have to get high.
Yeah. So we're gonna change that to 1 being Moonfall and 10 being fat unicorn riding a dinosaur. It's that awesome.
Mhm.
And I don't know that I've ever seen a movie that good, but
I don't know if I have either. I don't know if I've ever experienced anything as good as fat unicorn riding a dinosaur.
Nope.
But now now that I know what I have to shoot for.
Thanks, Tammy. Yeah, this is Tammy saying, hey, Tammy's laughing at us because she wanted us to watch it. Yeah, wanted to hear your funny comments. I don't know if I don't remember how I commented on that. I think
I just remember I was like, it was so terrible. It was like, I think I said, it's like all of his movies put together into one terrible movie.
Yeah, it was like all the science has gone very bad. This
Mhm.
is why this is why people can't be trusted with science. We just can't do it because then we're like, yeah, this is believable. So
You know, the problem is people still think that science is magic.
science is magic and this can happen. Anyway, so I gave the book an 8.5 on the sister scale. I really think it's an excellent book. I've read it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times now. And then I gave the movie a 5 on the sister scale because it's not a bad movie. It's just, and I kept, maybe it would be lower if I hadn't read the book because I don't think it would be higher.
Um,
I don't know. I
I know
wish I,
I kind of rate my movies on would I see it again? And I might see it again when it comes to cable, just because it's a 2.5 hour movie and I had to go to the bathroom at one point.
I did too.
So, I mean, I might see it again just so I could, see it with, the parts that I missed because I had to go to the bathroom.
Well, I had to go to the bathroom and there were, and I wanted I wanted some candy. Joe actually got up and got Twizzlers after a while, and I was super relieved because I just really wanted some candy. And then he got some. I didn't even have to ask.
See, and that's another thing. If I'm watching a movie and I'm distracted and I start thinking about, what am I going to do after this movie? Or if I start thinking, oh, I really have to go to the bathroom, I can't wait, or candy, then I know it's not a very good movie.
Yeah, and I think that was, and part of it was that I really, I didn't love the young people that were in it. I mean, for one thing, the kid that played Coriolanus was too tall.
Mm-hmm.
He was too well fed,
Mm-hmm.
and he just was kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. He's pretty.
He was pretty, and he just looked brooding a lot. I'm like, ugh,
Ugh.
stop. And then Rachel Zegler was fine. She's got a nice voice, but again, she played Maria in the most recent West Side Story.
Oh.
That's her claim to fame.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Good for her.
And Peter Dinklage just looked really bored. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I love him. I just wish he had a better part. I wish they'd written him a better part.
right. Agreed.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So I gave the book a 9. I love this book. I've read all of the Hunger Games books multiple times. This is my most favorite one of the 4. I think about this book a lot, actually. So I had to give it a 9. Again, I gave the movie a 5, which I thought was generous of me.
good job, man. You generous.
I know, because as we've talked about it, I now want to give it like a 3.5.
Yeah,
I've decided I don't think it's okay.
that's fair. You don't have to. So, and it makes me long. At one point, I was like, "We're going to talk about this movie on the show," and I'm like, "I don't really want to. Can we talk about something else?"
I was like, I want to talk about the book more, but I really did not want to talk about the movie. I loved talking about the book, but the movie, I was like, I'm trying to come up with reasons why the movie is okay. And I was like, well, it's good to it's interesting to look at.
Well, and the cool thing about the movie is it's interesting to see somebody's vision of what these places look like. And
Oh,
I would say that especially the Capitol kind of matched what I thought of a war torn Capitol. But again, it was a little too cleaned up. In the book,
mhm,
she talks about the fact that they've left a lot of the damage there because they want to remind people of how destructive this war was. And so you don't really see that at all. You don't get that sense of loathing that Coriolanus has for Sejanus.
no.
That he acts like Sejanus is his friend, and Sejanus thinks of him as his friend, but he actually has nothing but contempt for Sejanus or his ma or his father. And that's the part that we never see. That
Mhm.
Coriolanus kind of comes off as kind of a nice guy in the movie, and I'm like, he's really not. He's a jerk.
Yeah, no, he's not a nice person.
Mm-mm.
He's scheming and calculating, with a very pleasant veneer. Okay, I do
Yes.
have a real problem with. Okay, as you know, if you haven't seen the movie yet, sorry, big spoiler. And if you haven't read the book, rabies plays a part in this. So in the book, one of the characters that ends up in the arena contracts rabies from a raccoon. And in the movie, they decided to make it bats.
Oh, I
And
knew you were not going to like that
oh,
at all.
bats are my favorite mammals, and they're amazing. And she talked about, oh, well, I had to stay awake all night because I couldn't keep the bats off me. I'm like, bats are not interested in you. So I was just so ticked off that they were like that they chose. I'm like, raccoons are an easy enough choice. Why do you have to like change it to bats? I thought that
Well,
was the
and
weirdest thing.
yeah, and they easily could have just done that, and that's what in the book he gets bit while they're caged up in the zoo.
Mhm.
Like, why could they not just have done that? Why has it got to be bats in the? So dumb. Yeah, that
Yeah,
made
it
me
was
mad
just
too. I'm like,
oh, that was
ooh,
I
and
was
then I
like,
saw that, I'm like,
"Oh."
you guys gonna hate that.
I know. I was like, "Why are bats flying out of the train, car?" And I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." So I was very so, yes, all mammals I know, all mammals can spread rabies. Bats are a rabies vector, but bats aren't hunting you. So if you do get rabies, it's probably not from a bat. It's probably from a dog that hasn't been vaccinated properly because it got bit by a raccoon. Anyway, that's just me. But really, are we really spreading this nonsense? So,
We are,
and
and
also, if Pan Am is the former United States, those bats are too big. Those are fruit bats,
yeah,
and we
they're
don't have
huge.
fruit bats here.
I didn't think they were. I did. In fact, I did not put together that those were bats until they were talking about. It. I'm like, oh, those were bats that flew out because they were huge. I thought they were just like pigeons or something because they were
Yeah.
so big.
I was like, "Oh, yeah." So that whole thing, I was like, "Why did they make this choice?" One of those writers was afraid of bats.
There you go. See, and brothers bring the smart stuff for all of you people. Now, when you guys are watching this movie, you can be like, oh, those bats are the wrong size. And you are going to sound so forking
So
smart.
you're gonna sound like, "Damn, you really, really went in trying to hate this movie, didn't you?"
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to, but I thought that was a really lousy choice. So
I hear that.
I thought it was a stupid choice. Anyway,
So, anyway,
so I was paying
movies.
attention. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I know, and I don't go to movies very often. So, whenever I go to a movie, I really wanted to knock my socks off. And I was kind of on a hot streak because we went and saw the Barbie movie, and that movie was
Mhm.
amazing. We went and saw Oppenheimer, and that movie was amazing. And then
Mhm.
I finally go back to the movies, and it's this movie. And I was just kind of like, I was super
Yeah.
excited.
Me too. I was really excited to go to a movie, and I went by myself because my husband was
Oh,
out of town, and I'm like, I'm going to the movie by myself. I drove. I went, all the way to Saline, which is like 30 miles from my house because they have the super comfy seats, and I had to dodge the deer all the way there and dodge the deer all the way back, and I was like, man,
for
it was
that.
worth it.
Did you at least get some popcorn?
Hmm?
Did you at least get some
I
popcorn?
did. I got some popcorn and some root beer, which was nice. And I was going to get some M&Ms, but I was like, "Oh, do you really need M&Ms?" I'm like, "No." And the small popcorn is the size of my head anyway, so
Well, and I'm going to take a moment to offer my critique of the GQT movie theater 10 in Kalamazoo. The Kalamazoo 10 over off of West Main, right next door to the Target. And I got to tell you, I'm going to give that movie theater a solid 7 because we got $8 matinee, which really isn't a bargain, but it is comparatively,
Mhm.
and that was clean. It was not crowded at all. They were having a birthday party when we came out, and Joe and I thought about crashing it and eating some cake, but then we kept it classy and we didn't. Because what do we do? We keep it classy. And so that was nice. And ultimately, I haven't been in that theater in years, and they've spruced it up a little bit because it used to be kind of dumpy, and it was still a little dumpy, but not super dumpy. And it was nice because we were like one of 6 people in the theater. It was
Oh,
awesome.
that's nice. My theater was packed. I like 10 minutes before I left, I was like, "Oh, maybe I should pre-order a ticket." I was like, okay." And I was looking and there was like 5 seats left.
It's because that place has the comfy seats, like the Portage one where we were
Mhm.
gonna go see we couldn't get a seat. It was like everything was like the second row where you're like laying down
Yeah. Oh
looking
no,
straight up at the
I
screen.
got
We weren't doing
in the
that.
back on the aisle at the end. It was great. I didn't have my blankie was the only thing. I'm like, "Oh, it is getting chilly in here." I can see why people
Oh, now you know from now on.
Mhm.
So now you and Duncan need to have matching movie bankies.
Movie bankies and pajama pants, obviously.
Yes. Yes, because, pajamas are okay everywhere now.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay, every time I make a statement like that, I feel like an old lady. I'm like, "They wear pajama pants everywhere. Those kids these days, no wonder she was cold. Her sweatshirt's on her shoulder."
yeah.
Yep,
And I was, it's
crossed
like
the
I
line.
was in my little skirt and I was looking all cute. I was look at me, I'm totally overdressed for a movie theater.
I know it's practically your home now. It's
It's
like
practically, I was like, so when I finish with this, do I just roll into bed? So
maybe that'll be the next iteration of movie theaters. It'll just be beds.
oh my gosh. That is exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be beds. I mean, we already have chairs that like fold out into beds. So
into
yeah,
beds. So
it's
it
going
might
to
as well
be a
just be
beds.
beds.
Hmm.
Ew.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will sleep at
Yeah.
hotel.
And I always think movie theaters are gross anyway. So there you go.
There you go.
I know. Well, let's do this, Ann. Let's talk about what's happening next week
Okay.
because we're taking our sneak peek at next week. And wait, here it is. Oh, I'm navigating stuff. There we go. Anne is going to Toronto, which, if you did not know this, now you know. For some reason, it's not the capital of Canada.
And when you wrote that, when I read that, I was like, oh, what's the capital? Because I didn't know.
It's Ottawa.
Yeah, and that's
Ottawa.
what it was. Ottawa wasn't even my fifth choice.
Hmm.
So
Well,
yeah, we're going to Toronto. Duncan and I have decided to forsake family and take the train to Toronto. And we got a hotel. We have our train tickets. We have no plans. We're just going to see what happens when we get there. I've only heard good things about Toronto. Like it's such a clean city and it's so much fun. And the food there is so good. I'm just like, all right, I'm sold. It should be the capital.
totally.
Mhm.
So
Nobody ever says things about that about our capital. Nobody ever says it's so clean.
so clean. So what I did is I went ahead and I just went ahead and there's Michigan and you can see Toronto. Wait, I got to share this tab instead. Can you see
Oh,
it? Can you see
yeah.
what I just did? Yeah. So you can now see that there's Toronto. It's over there by Lake. Here, can you see that? There it is.
There it is. I
There it
see
is.
Toronto right on the lake. Right on
Nice. There
Lake.
it is. It's on Lake
Very good.
Ontario. You're going to get to see Lake Ontario. I've never seen Lake Ontario.
I don't. You know what? I haven't either. I have not either. So I've been to all the other Great Lakes, but not that one. So yeah, we're gonna head north and go to Toronto and right on the lake. It's supposed to be kind of windy when we're there. I'm like, ooh, it'll be windy right off the lake. It'll be cold. Yeah.
That
So
will
we're leaving. We're actually we're driving into Windsor, which is just south of Detroit, and we're gonna park and ride in Windsor and pick up the train there and take it all the way to Toronto.
Look at you. You're so cosmopolitan.
We
It's
are.
easy to forget that Canada's a whole different country with different stuff. So I've already started developing a list of questions for you because I will be interviewing you about your trip to Canada.
Oh, Canada, yes.
Yep.
During Thanksgiving, which for them is Thursday. It's
I
just
love that.
Thursday.
Fun fact, Anne and I both know the Canadian national anthem and could sing it for you, but we won't.
But we won't. Yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny?
I know we had to learn. So Anne and I were in a play together back in college called La Belle Soeur, directed by our friend Sean Bird. This is when we were at the Eastern Michigan University. And the very last part is this whole group of women singing the Canadian national anthem. So this was way before the internet, like 1991 or 92 or something. I
Yeah,
can't
it was
remember
like
what year it was.
92. Mhm.
Yeah. So we had one of the tech guys, Paul, who's friends with us. He watches a lot of hockey, so he knew the Canadian national anthem. So he taught it to all of us.
Because we couldn't look it up on the internet because
We
there
could not.
wasn't one.
There was no YouTube to like how does the Canadian national anthem go? Nope, there was nothing like that. So Paul Bird had to teach us the Canadian national anthem, and it just really stuck because it's lovely. It's so
It
much
is
nicer than ours.
It is lovely. In fact, we sang it the other day because we were in Detroit at Belle Isle. And if you look over on Belle Isle, you can see Canada. So we started singing the national anthem. Jenny, myself, and our friend Jeannie were singing because she was in the show with us too. We were singing the Canada's national anthem. There we were.
It is. It's
And we
actually.
sounded lovely.
We did. We sounded really good, and it's just a nicer national anthem. I'm not saying it's a better national anthem.
not
Don't
saying.
send me hate emails. I'm just saying that I just think it's really nice and easy to sing. You don't have all those big high notes like you do in
Mm-mm.
the American national anthem. So
No, it's really pretty.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's so we know that. And it was fun.
bold
Mhm.
choice. It's a
Mhm.
bold choice. Okay,
It was
so yeah,
bold
that's next week's show, next Sunday. And then the weekend after that, we are going to be talking about delicious fruit wines of Western Michigan. That's right, Tammy. If you're still watching, we're taking you and Jim and Jeremy out on Saturday for the delicious fruit wine tour of Western Michigan, and then we'll be sampling some fruit wines and talking about them. Well, we're going to do so. Our show the week after that won't necessarily be live. It might just be a video of our wine tasting experiences. So
Yes, but we'll see.
nice wine.
Ice wine. Or it might be a combination of both. So you never know.
Good, because we could just play the video. I gotta figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Learning. I can figure it out. I'm smart, technologically
Right.
savvy sometimes.
Yeah.
So I know. And now, Tammy, you've lived in Michigan, so you've had Michigan wine before. You know that it's
It's
Michigan wine.
Michigan wine.
It's good. Michigan wine's good. It's just not.
Michigan.
It's not sophisticated. And
Um,
Michigan wineries and vineyards would probably tell you differently, but it's just a
mhm.
different profile. So
Yeah.
see,
It's like
look, she knows Michigan wine. So yeah, we're going to the west side for some wine.
we have a lot of winter here, so it produces a certain type of grape.
Sweet. Which for me, that's perfect because I got a sweet tooth. It's that one. All right.
Exactly. Exactly. I was
Okay.
like,
Yep.
I don't want to drink complex wine. I want to drink some Kool-Aid wine.
Kool-Aid wine because I like Kool-Aid. Who doesn't like
Mhm.
Kool-Aid? Hey,
Exactly.
remember when we were kids and like we would go shopping with mom and we could pick out whatever packets of Kool-Aid we wanted?
Right. We could get 14 packets
Mhm.
and we could pick out the packets we wanted.
Whatever flavor we wanted. And I could just remember that taking like a half hour.
And the funny thing is that we pretty much just got every single one. There was only like 14 choices, and we hemmed and hawed and got one of each.
Do I want 2 fruit punches or just 1?
One.
Or 2 cherries and a grape or 2 grapes and a cherry?
No, we would just get one of everything, and
Yeah.
every day was a surprise because we would go through a gallon of Kool-Aid. We would literally make Kool-Aid every day.
Every day. Because it was something that you could do. It was like mom never limited the Kool-Aid intake.
No, amazingly, we couldn't have it
Yes.
at dinner. We had to have
Nope.
milk, but we drank in the summer. We drank Kool-Aid. That's all we drank was Kool-Aid.
Copious amounts of
Of
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid.
And we never had the Kool-Aid that came in the can. We always had the packets that you had to add the
Mhm.
sugar to, which was great because then you could always be like, "I'll just add a little bit more.
A little bit
A little
more.
bit
Mom's like,
more."
just a cup of sugar. I'm like, okay, just a cup. Mm.
Cup and a
Yeah.
quarter, cup and a half,
Mhm. Yeah, loved Kool-Aid. And I do
Mhm.
remember it was the best part that's why I went grocery shopping with mom because I wanted to make sure that we got our Kool-Aid because
So
we
we
didn't
got
get a
the
lot of grocery treats. There wasn't like sugar cereal or packaged cookies or potato chips or
Postal
anything
Snap,
like
none of that.
that.
Nope.
None of that. But
Mm-mm.
Kool-Aid, yeah.
Kool-Aid was cheap and, something you could easily have, and yeah, there you go.
And we could make it ourselves.
And we could make it ourselves.
But you
So
did
much
not
winning.
want to leave any sugar granules on the counter because you got yelled at.
Yeah, you made sure you got that shit cleaned up.
Exactly. It's like, do you want to lose your Kool-Aid privileges? Then clean up those sugar granules because
Yeah.
Cynthia was going to be on you.
Yes. Yes, she was. So, yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Anyway, sorry, we're digressing. Anyway, let's just real
Gen
quick. So
Xers, remember, we should have that every at the end of every show.
and I'm
Gen
like,
Xers, remember.
this is your Gen X moment brought to you by the Brother Sisters. This week, it's Kool-Aid shopping with your
Kool-Aid
mom
shoppings, exactly, with your mom,
when you're 10
or the fact that you can't look up the Canadian national anthem on the interweb.
on the interweb, but and yet we can still navigate the interweb because
Exactly.
we're that cool.
We're
Yes,
that cool. We're that awesome.
we're that generation. All right, so thank you. I think we crushed it. I think we totally murdered our subject of reviewing Songbirds and Snakes. To review, loved the book. I think if we average it out, it's like an 8.75 on the sister scale. Hated the movie. Probably somewhere we both gave it a 5, but in reflecting, we both ranked it too high.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was way too generous.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
not Geostorm or Moonfall bad, but it's just not great. It's just
it's not.
a
It's
bummer.
not. It's not 1250 great.
No, it is not. It's not
Mhm.
12.50 great. It wasn't even 8.25 great with $20 popcorn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no. And again, our sneak peek for next week is, of course, going to be Anne is going to Toronto for Thursday. And as a result of that, we'll be talking about her trip to Toronto. That way, if you decide you want to go to exotic locales like Canada, you'll have a leg up because Anne's going to tell you what to do, how to do it, and
Great.
talk about the metric system and the weird money they have
Yeah.
and stuff.
And I'll even bring back, I'm like, look, it's pink.
The weird pink money from Canada. Leave it to Canada to have pink money. Am I right?
No, I know. They just do everything better.
It's true. They are just better than we are. So, all right. So see you next week. We'll probably be same time, same place. And then, of course, you can listen to us right now on the Facebook or the YouTube, and you can catch us whenever on Spotify and stuff like that.
And stuff like that. So Instagram and Facebook and
Whoops.
all the other things, I can't remember.
I'm going to put them on the screen as soon as we're done here. It's all good.
Okay, then I don't have to
I
say
gotta-
anything else.
I got to put our promo in the background. Look, you can kind of see it in the background, but
Oh, yes.
anyway, I'm gonna play our rock music as we head out.
Awesome.
Wait, I gotta turn it up.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. That's
Yeah.
our last rock music.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
it's kick-ass.
Anyway, you have been listening to the Brothers Sisters. Smart Dumb Fun for the Brothers Sisters. Don't bother with Songbirds and Snakes unless you want to. Anyway,
But read the book. Definitely read the book.
definitely read the book. Skip the movie and get the audiobook because the audiobook's actually well read. So
Mhm.
there you
Yeah.
go. All right, you guys, we are gone. Peace out. See you next week.